Hello and welcome to Can't Find My Way Home, the podcast where expats from around the globe talk about the music and art scene in their adopted home. I'm your host, Craig. Joining me in episode 4 of Can't Find My Way Home was Brian Aylward. Yes, Brian, we pronounced your name right. Brian's a professional stand-up comedian and he's been in the business for 15 years or so. In the next 45 minutes we get into how he started in the business, how his journey's taken him from South Korea back to his homeland of Canada and now into his current base of Bangkok. We also get into his forthcoming special, which was filmed in Mongolia of all places, so there's some great stories there. We go a little more in-depth into what it's like to die on stage as a comedian, and I can only imagine what that place is like. We also get a little bit into some of the locations, and there's some fantastic countries Brian's played in. It's 21 countries or so, I think. We get into what it's like to play at the top of the world. We're also briefly interrupted by an internet disruption and an Amazon delivery guy at my front door. You couldn't really make this up. Without further ado though, here's Brian Aylward. Alright Brian, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
I guess for a lot of people out there listening, I know there are more than one, right? Because my mum's one and then your mum must be two. So, right, that's at least two of us. And the dog's here, so that's three, So a lot of people out there are curious, how did you get into the business? How did you get into the stand-up comedy business?
Well, actually, back in the old Korea days, man, November 11th, 2005, started on a dare at Roxon's bar. You ever play that bar?
I did a little more than play there. I had my wedding reception there.
Did you?
I did, yeah. in 2002.
Yeah, man. The Friday night open mics they used to have down there, and mostly music, right? And just jumped up and got over the fear. And then a couple of months later, moved to Toronto. I was already 31, so I felt kind of old. And it just kept going, and now this is 15 years later, and it's what I do.
You think it's the old adage about not you fall off the horse and you just get back on it again?
Yeah, man. It's like you know what it's like. Like half the battle is not quitting.
Exactly.
You just keep doing it, and there's no substitute for stage time. And I just, I hit as many stages as I can, and somehow I got decent at this.
Stranger things have happened and all that, eh?
Yeah.
The teachers look back and say, yeah, that guy, remember him?
Yeah, totally, man. I remember that guy screaming at us thinking he was fucking Bill Hicks.
Yeah, I do remember him. Yeah. And how did you end up in Thailand? So you originally, we both met in South Korea, and we got paths crossed there doing open mics. I remember one night seeing you up in Stompers, of course at the top of Hooker Hill, and I think we were maybe part of the house band that night. It was an open mic night, and you just went up there because it's all like dodgy muso type saying. You just kind of walk up and you go, yeah, I'm going to just do stand up for 10-15 minutes, and
it was horrible.
It takes some balls to do that, man. So
it was so horrible. I remember you guys, man. I remember your drumming. You're such a good drummer. I remember you after midnight, my dumb ass going up and trying to talk. It was absolutely horrible.
When you have this, it's different when you're a band, especially you're a drummer. You just get to hang out at the back and do your thing. But with your, chosen path, you're right up front and center. Eh? And once you go over,
I like attention more than you do.
Oh, maybe so. Yeah, I get to play louder than you, though. So yeah,
exactly.
And from South Korea back to Toronto for a while, and were you in Canada for?
Yeah, actually, I only went back to Toronto. That was 2007. I started comedy 2006. Sorry. In the beginning, 2006. I went back for about a year, and then came back to Korea actually for a few more years, and that's when I started Stand Up Seoul. And just thought there had to be more people like me, right? So we got Stand Up Seoul started and kind of started the English stand-up comedy scene in Korea. did that for a few years, and then 2010 moved back to Canada. Well, I guess semi-permanently. Moved back to Halifax.
Yeah, from the frying pan to the fire, eh?
Yeah, man. And then I've been full time ever since. That's 2010. I live in Thailand now. I'm living in Bangkok the past 4 years. My wife teaches here at the international school. So the Canadian connection again, man, just by fluke. I mean, just like what happened with the stand-up. I went to Rocky Mountain Tavern, you know, the Canadian bar in Etowan.
No, it was.
Asked them to start the Stand Up Seoul night. They did that. Kind of something different but similar, I guess. Same but different, as they say. I was at the end of an Asian tour, and my wife and I were in Bangkok at a show, at my show. A bunch of people were there from the Canadian Embassy and some international schools, and got to chatting. And they offered my wife a job, and you know, we went back to Canada, but we were thinking, hey, let's go live in Thailand, you know. And she kind of, you know, ended her job in Canada. She was teaching back home, and we moved to Thailand 4 years ago.
Excellent. And
yeah, man, it's pretty good.
No plans to move on. Well, I guess maybe you never say never in any kind of line of work, but you're settled there, yeah. Yeah,
pretty settled. I mean, never say never, but we could be open to move somewhere after next year. We're going to be here 1 more year, and then my wife Holly's going to take a year off, and I got a world tour planned. She's going to come around with me on that, and she's going to explore her options. And yeah, we could end up somewhere else, but we do love Bangkok. But if something else tickles our fancy, we might do that. My wife might look to be going online, become you know, one of these digital nomad types, which would be kind of great and flexible.
Yeah.
And you know, she's been 15 years into teaching now, and she's looking to take a little break and explore her options. So yeah, next year we'll see.
Cool. And then of course Bangkok's a great kind of geographical hub. Yeah, it's really great for air connections, to particularly for you, right? If you've, how many Asian countries are you up to that you've
21.
performed in? 21. So
21.
yeah,
it's crazy. Yeah, man, it's so. Yeah, man, it's amazing. Yeah, Bangkok's awesome for a hub for flying out of, right? Cheap flights. It's very international here. You know, to be an expat in Bangkok is pretty easy because they don't mess with that tourism dollar. Like hospitals, stuff like that, food, all that stuff. It's all like home, and it's safe, and we love it. And of course, the weather. I'm a bit of a weather wuss now, so I don't miss those Canadian winters.
No, right. It's just as well you can't see out my kitchen window behind me because it's dark and grey. It's like I never left Scotland ever, man. It's just the weather just follows me everywhere, you know.
Right.
Speaking of that, yeah, you could be honest something there, Brian. I caught up with a couple of videos you had online from last year when you were in Mongolia.
Yeah.
And the guy who was interviewing you were in one of the traditional tents or the traditional Mongolian homes.
They're called gurs.
Gurs, yeah.
Yeah. Some people call them yurts.
Yurts, yeah, because my wife has actually been to Mongolia and she said it's quite the place. You know?
It's amazing, man. It's fascinating. Yeah, that was a talk show I did. This guy had a talk show called Gur Talk. It was just a talk show inside a gur. It was pretty amazing. My wife was with me, so we hung out with a family and just did all the traditional stuff, and they were amazing hosts. What happened was I went there through a guy I knew. He told me about it. This Mongolian guy, Bataleg, he's a big comedy fan. He went to LA, saw the Comedy Store in LA. That's basically the most famous comedy club in the world.
Yeah.
He goes back to Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia, and gets a comedy club built just like the Comedy Store in LA. So I didn't know how nice it was. I saw some pictures, but I didn't know. So when I went just to do a show there, like last year, fucking beautiful, man. I was like, this is a world-class comedy club in the middle of Mongolia. And those guys were so nice to me. I had such a great time that I decided to film my special there this past November. So that got done, and I just finished editing it this week. So I'm pretty excited about that.
How long is your set for, Brian? Is it like an hour and change?
A little less than an hour. It's called Big in Asia. I'm talking to some people now, selling it. It'll be out. It'll be released within the next 2 months. And yeah, I'm really happy with it, man. It's been just years in the making. Some jokes I've been doing for 3 or 4 years. Some new stuff. So it's really good to kind of capture it, and just have it done. It's a long time coming.
how are your audiences, from when you started to now? I mean, are they a mixed group of expats? I was in the comedy club in Bangkok 3 or 4 years ago for one of these Magners international
Definitely.
things, and there was the guy who headlined the show was this American comedian, and we were sitting having a drink with him after the show because the guy I was with knew the guy that ran the pub, and it was something to do with Brewdog and blah blah blah, all of that stuff. But yeah, he just came in for the weekend. They just flew him in, and that was him.
Yeah.
He was gone again on the Monday morning kind of thing. But
Yeah.
you'll know what it is. It's up the comedy club.
Yeah, I know what it is. Yeah,
upstairs,
yeah. The English bar. I forget the name of it now, but yeah, I know what it is.
There's all guys called Clive and Nigel sitting downstairs and talking about the stock exchange and all that shit.
Yeah, the Royal Oak.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. Yeah. So when you go up there into the little den they have upstairs, I was up there for the finals. I think it was that night actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, for you.
Yeah, the audiences are mixed. I mean, it depends on where you go. In Bangkok, they tend to be pretty international. In Mongolia, it was mostly Mongolians. In Malaysia, it'll be mostly Malaysians. But there's definitely a mix. There's definitely a mix everywhere you go now, because the language barrier is not what it was, 15 years ago, and it's kind of blowing up. Comedy's getting big in Asia right now, so they're coming out in droves, man.
Did you find anything that really? I mean, you've probably seen and heard a lot of things that have really surprised you, audience-wise or venue-wise, but has there been anything that's really stuck out? So, for example, I noted some of the countries that you've played in Asia, India, for example, right?
Yeah.
How does that work?
India, Nepal was nuts. India was just a guy who'd seen me in Hong Kong, and he was starting a festival, in Hyderabad, India. And so I went and did that. That was awesome. Again, the hospitality was amazing. Nepal was pretty special. My wife and I had planned to go to Nepal, and then found out someone said they have comedy in Nepal, and I was like, get the fuck out of here, really? And sure enough, man, took on Facebook. So I checked it out, and they have like a proper little room. I get a hold of the guys. They had me over there. Great packed bar, great little show, and plus Nepal was just off the charts, beautiful. So that was a surprise. I didn't think there was comedy in Kathmandu, Nepal.
No, it's kind of like the top of the world and all those cliches, but literally, you've been to kind of not far from the top of the world, and there's a guy up there.
Yeah, I think 8 of the top 10, 8 of the 10 tallest mountains in the world are in Nepal. So it's pretty spectacular everywhere you look.
Yeah, it's something else. I noticed that one of the countries also on your list was Myanmar.
Yeah, I've been to Myanmar twice now. Yangon. Again, someone saw me. I think once I went for the festival, the Magners International Comedy Festival, which is like the biggest festival in Asia. They had me over, and they have a show there at the hotel, and they had me back. Yeah, that was amazing too. Yeah, I mean, who would have thought? I mean, that these places even existed. I mean, if I wasn't a comedian, I wouldn't even know what Yangon, Myanmar is.
Well, it's not even called it anymore, right? They've changed all the names, I think. Yeah. So
yeah. There's a lot going on in that country.
Oh, of course. Here's my door ringing. Give me a second, man.
All right, no worries. Live. I think Craig has ordered a pizza. It's just me right now staring at Craig's kitchen. I was talking to the camera. I think.
Sorry about that, man.
No worries.
The Amazon guy turns up at the door, Talk about German efficiency.
Yeah, right.
Oh, man, yeah. Sorry about that. And the dog's barking and all that,
All good. Live.
There we go. Aye, so Myanmar. What's your plans for this year then? So we've got the special coming out in the next couple of months or so.
Yeah, special coming out in the next couple of months. I'll be starting a podcast in the next couple of months as well. That'll be all over my social media. Can
you divulge any details about that, the podcast?
Yeah, I mean, all I'm really doing is just going to be it's going to be a half hour in length, and it's just going to be me going on about whatever I go on about. I might have guests sometimes. It'll just be kind of Where's Waldo kind of thing. It'll be me just going off my head wherever I am in the world, and opinions, utter foolishness, interviews, just A half hour of me a week.
Well, I'm going to link in our social media page. I'm going to put a link to there's you and the pothole.
Yeah.
I don't know what was that video called. It's not pothole, man, but it's something.
Pothole guy. It's not far off.
Yeah.
One of the dumbest things I've ever done, and it was actually it got me a lot of publicity. Actually, it was in my hometown, and my brother said, "Did you see the sinkhole out by the mall?" So it was in a main street in our hometown, right next to the main shopping mall. So we go out there, and it's this massive fucking crater in the ground. And so I thought it'd be funny. I'd just jump in it. My brother would record me. So I just jumped in it like an idiot and just bounced around, said pothole a bunch of times, and just was stupid. But then I knew somebody who worked with CBC, which is a Canadian broadcasting company. And I just sent it into them for a laugh. And then the next day I wake up and it's all over the news and viral video. And to this day, people still call me pothole guy. So you never know where it's going to come from. The dumbest thing I've ever done gave me the most publicity.
Ain't that the truth, you know?
So ridiculous, man.
Excellent. So we get the podcast coming out. You'll do it on...
Podcast coming out. I'm also putting out a web series called Buddy in Bangkok. It's just going to be me going around, basically exploring Bangkok, but making with a bit of humor. So it'll be like 90-second to 3-minute clips of just Bangkok, of me exploring Bangkok and throwing a bit of funny in.
I mean, Bangkok's an amazing city to visit at the best times for people who've never been, or I've been a few times, as most people who have lived in Asia for certain years. It's an interesting city. Let's put it that way.
It's a very interesting city. I mean, the ignorant people just, think about the sex tourism and all the bullshit. But there's an awful lot going on in this city. And people are always asking me, like, what's Bangkok like? What's Bangkok like? So I'm going to show them. That's what this web series is going to be. Like, this is Bangkok. And it's kind of a way for me to get out. And my wife will be a part of it too. And a buddy of mine, just an excuse to get out and really explore the city. I mean, I've already been doing some research now for a few of the videos. And just you learn so much. I just like learning about the city that I'm living in. And
in a certain way, you're giving something back, right? We're going to get to see some of the more, the places that people maybe never go, but in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah, we take it for granted sometimes, right? As expats who've been overseas for a while, that our normal is not normal for where we come from.
No.
So something we think is just, whatever is a hilarious thing to watch or see. So I'm going to show people Bangkok. So the web series will be Buddy in Bangkok. I'll be putting out one of those a week. Podcasts, won't let you know the name yet, but it'll be a half hour of me a week. And I do my Canadian tour, Best Kind Comedy Tour. I do that every year right now in Canada. That's a 10-week tour. Starts in August. And
you're going coast to coast again. I know you've done this.
Yeah, man.
The last 2 years. This will be your third.
Yeah.
Your third year.
Yeah, it'll be the third year. Me and a couple of buddies from back home, Colin Hollett and Mike Lynch. Yeah, man, we really do it. We go from Labrador all the way to Victoria, British Columbia. We drove over 15,000 kilometers in 9 weeks last year.
The three you in a car, yeah.
Yeah, 4 actually, because we got a tour manager.
Okay.
But we're lucky. We got a sponsor. Ford sponsors us, so that was amazing. We got a rig, and we actually make it work, man. It's been going amazing. Turnouts have been awesome. I mean, we did 34 cities last year, I think. We're doing even a few more this year, plus bigger venues. So it just keeps getting bigger every year. So, couldn't be happier, man. Could not be happier.
Excellent. That sounds great. So that'll take you from August all the way through the end November? Of September. Yeah, I was going to say October.
Yeah, even November, yeah. And then back here and then chill out a bit, with the wife. And me and Holly will go somewhere for Christmas. And then the countdown's on then to the world tour. She'll finish up June of next year, and then we'll take off, and we're going to hit up, we'll end up doing we'll do 6 continents and 20, maybe 24, 26 countries.
Fantastic. Because I know you were in a comedy festival in Australia, if I remember rightly. I don't remember what city, but... Yeah,
2 years ago, it was Perth. It's called Fringe World, one of the biggest fringe festivals in the world. That was an amazing festival, man. Yeah, that was awesome. That was, February, 2 years ago? Yeah, so that's one of the reasons I want to do the world tour. I want to get back to Australia. I'll do Perth on that tour, and I'll do Adelaide for sure.
Excellent. Have you dipped your toe into the kind of European waters yet? Have you had much chance to tread the boards?
No, I went to Ireland last 2 years ago now. Yeah, 2 years ago, I guess. And that was awesome. It was a great experience. did shows in was it Belfast, Dublin, Galway. Yeah, so going back again this year as part of the Best Kind comedy tour, me and my buddies. I went solo 2 years ago, but through those connections, they're having us back. Because where I'm from in Newfoundland, we have a real big connection to Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to kind of open up kind of a comedy, I don't know what you would call it, like a exchange kind of thing where we bring Irish people to Newfoundland and they bring us to Ireland. So
a reciprocal agreement.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going back in September, and that's exciting. And then on the world tour, we'll do. Well, I'm just doing it myself, but my wife and I will do. I'll do probably 15 or 17 countries in Europe. So next year will be my first time really stepping foot in Europe.
That sounds fantastic. And for
really excited.
As I said, for anyone listening at home, how do you get started? It's not really just about motivation, because obviously this is something you wanted to do, but in the bigger context as an expat. So this podcast is primarily for me as an expat and other people in the same position, similar position, but we do music or comedy or we write or whatever it is. Yeah. That's my niche, as it were, right? But as an expat for yourself, in the beginning, what was that transition like from being semi-professional, just doing it as a gigging hobby to making that leap into the unknown?
It was scary, man. It was definitely scary, but I mean, full-time effort, full-time results, right? That's the way I look at it. I mean, like I said earlier, I was 31 when I started, so I felt kind of old. So when I went back to Canada in 2010, I went for it. I did a lot of MC work. I did whatever I could. I said yes to everything, whatever put, money in my pocket and food on the table. And every year just kept getting better. I work pretty hard. I mean, I've done 15 years, 25 countries at now, over 3,000 shows. So I go pretty hard. And so you do that and you just get better. And like I said, half the battle is not quitting. Then you meet other people. And then, you know how it is, even with music, like it's a small world, really, especially the comedian world. There's only really hundreds of us really worldwide who are really doing it. And then you meet these people and you go, I know this guy in Germany who knows a guy in Estonia, who knows a girl in Romania. And then all of a sudden you're going to those countries. And then they know people and you keep going and going. And besides comedy, man, like my favorite thing for sure is traveling. I love traveling. I love going to new places. I love geography. I love history. That's my muse, man.
And definitely from those two things there, like you've just said, geography and history, then from there you get the people as well. And if you're open-minded in this kind of thing, like going to Romania, for example, or Estonia, growing up places that you've probably never thought would be on your list. Eh?
Yeah, well, that's one of the joys and one of the most amazing things about this. I can't even believe I've been to these countries like Laos and Nepal and Mongolia. It's madness. I love it. And man, I mean, if I wasn't open-minded before, I have no choice once you travel so much. I could be sitting home in the same bars telling the same 4 stories, but fuck that.
Oh, you just got to rearrange them, eh?
Yeah, exactly.
I think we've all been there with the set list,
Yeah, absolutely.
Earlier, just before we started recording, you were thinking of going back to South Korea, is that right?
Yeah, well, I mentioned to you that, it's funny how things work. I was going to do this podcast with you, and then today, Chris Tharp, our fellow expat from Korea, a very talented writer, musician, comedian himself. Yeah, they're looking to bring over some comedians. I haven't been there in a while. So we had to talk about me maybe coming over there in May. So I'd love to go back. I mean, I love Korea. I was there for 6 years. I have a connection. My wife actually stayed there for a year as well. So she'll probably come with me, and we'll just go back and just an excuse to see Seoul and Busan for a weekend. And I love Busan in the spring. Late spring, Busan's a good place to be.
Yeah, you don't want to go there in August, right? With 500,000 people.
But it's nice in the spring. It's nice. The weather's great. The beaches start to liven up. And I love those guys. I got a nice group of friends in Busan. Be great to see them. Is
the comedy scene there still, since you set up the Stand Up Seoul, and I know it ran for several years and then you moved on to other things, but did anyone ever kind of take the run with it after you left?
Yeah. A couple of people took the reins. I mean, after I left, there were people like Jeff Sinclair and Albert Escobedo, Aaron Weber.
Yeah, I know Albert.
Rudy Taberski, those guys. And they were funny as well, so that helped. They did a good job, but then they all left. So slowly, like the main organizers and like the truly funny people left. Now there is some people still there, which is great. They're keeping it going, which is all you can really do. Again, actually, it's funny. I just got approached by somebody. I forget his name. They're doing the first Seoul International Comedy Festival in April, I think. And so there's still people there giving it a go. I mean, I can't make it this April, but I was really happy to hear that they're doing that. So there's people there still keeping it going. It's not what it used to be. I mean, just because we used to have, I think there was more funny people who lived there. The organizers were pretty hungry. They made things happen. I mean,
you had you had some big headliners at those stand-up Seoul shows, yeah?
Man, listen, we got, again, it was through connections, people I met. I mean, yeah, man, and we brought over like Ted Alexandro, Kyle Kinane, Tom Cotter. I mean, some big names, you know?
Yeah, sold out.
And sold out. I mean, when I left in 2010, I went back to Korea twice, and I did like 2 tours. One tour, I went to 8 different cities. The next time I went to 11. I mean, I toured all over Korea, from Gwangju to Daegu to Pohang to all over the place, man. And everywhere I went, I mean, there were packed rooms. I mean, you know how it is, the expat community, you know, they're pretty tight in these small places.
Yeah, definitely. When you you're up there on stage and you go into these, we're just an example, like these kind of smaller Korean cities like Daegu or whatever, or you're in a suburb of Bundang, or it could be any country like this, and you go up, and we should say you're quite a tall chap, right?
Yeah, 6'3".
You know, so you kind of fill the stage I mean this in a positive way, you know?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
And they just kind of look at you and think, all right, what's this guy bringing? What's his shit?
Yeah, man. That especially in the beginning when I wasn't very funny, because you know I look like an asshole, and you know, people might think that, right? So they look at me thinking, "Oh, who's this loudmouth dickhead?"
That's it, because you know people look at a band and they say, "Okay, what's the singer wearing? Oh, he's wearing like leather trousers and all that. All right, cool, right? So he must be cocky and all this kind of stuff."
Exactly.
Right? Exactly. You see a guy or you know a female comedian too standing, you know, taken to the stage, and they think all these things are going through their head. All right, are they going to make me laugh? Or look at
and that's part of it, right? Part of it is how you look. But you know, once you get funny, at the end of the day, laughing is involuntary, right? So when they start laughing, they don't give a shit what you look like. But that took a while, you know. I mean, I remember many times in Seoul. I mean, I'm sure you probably saw me. I remember going to Woodstock and going to Tony's, like, you know, Ozzy Grub and Grog, and going to like these sports bars, like one down in Bundang, like Travelers Bar, and just stinking the joint up. I mean, just absolute shit. But I don't know what it is about it, man. Like, I talk about that sometimes with other comics. Like, it's amazing in the beginning how bad you are, but yet we don't quit because you want to, because it scorches your soul, man. Like, when you truly eat shit on stage, it's not a good feeling. But somehow we're like, all right, see you next week. You know.
Yeah, same time, same place, right?
Yeah.
That sounds like some good advice there for anyone who's kind of looking to for a tortured soul for the next few. Pardon the pun, but for a tortured soul for the next few.
Half the battle is not quitting, and that's the facts. Half the battle is not quitting. I mean, it took me a while to get good. I see some comics now, year 2, year 3, much better than I was. It took me like 4 or 5 years to really just get a grip of what I was doing. Almost year 9 to where once I got to year 9 or 10, I was like, okay, I'm pretty good at this.
You know what you're doing.
The beautiful
right?
thing is you know you get better, which I love. But by year 9 or 10, I was like, okay, I can call myself a comedian now in front of real comedians and mean it. But it really took 9 years for me, 9 or 10 years, where I was comfortable saying that.
It's all about earning your stripes then, you know, doing it, as you said, you took to the stage. What was it you used to call yourself in South Korea? Was it like a mic whore?
Yeah, friendly neighborhood microphone whore.
I mean, it's true, right? You know,
and well, that's it. Well, I think once people, I tell people that too, right? Just don't be an asshole. Like, just be a good person and work hard. And like, you know, if you're nice and you work hard, you should be all right. That usually succeeds. How
is the network amongst other comedians? And there's this joke about guitar players so drummers will share things with each other, right? They're kind of like the goalies or the goalkeeper kind of thing in the band.
Yeah.
Like, we're all a bit mad, but we're kind of cool with other drummers. We'll share sticks or whatever it is, you know. But guitar players never share jack shit with anybody, right? It's all about me, you know, and my riff and my solo.
I think most comedians are failed guitar players.
Okay.
No, I think it's very similar with comics. I mean, you find your tribe, and once you find your tribe, you'll help each other out. But yeah, comics, it's a very lone wolf kind of sport, real lonely endeavor. Yeah, it's just so competitive. People think that, but it's the wrong way to think. A lot of young comics, especially because they're so insecure, they think like that your success dictates my success. It doesn't. It doesn't at all. And actually helping each other is only better for each other. You know what I mean? Like there's no industry really anymore either, right? There's no more gatekeepers. So it's just about helping each other. Like there's no one coming to save you. It's just so I never believed in that stuff. I mean, comics can be really catty. That's one of the things actually I don't miss about living in Asia, or that I don't miss about Canada living in Asia, is like I'm not really around these scenes anymore with these prima donnas, you know? I'm around a lot of younger scenes, which of course the comedy's not as good. Like I miss watching Killers, but I'm just not around the ego. Like I don't miss the ego and the drama and the bullshit. I mean, you'll always get it a little bit because that's just the nature of who we are. But yeah, man, just find your people and do your thing.
There we go. Some sage-like advice, Brian. Brian, how about we wrap up with the top 5?
All right. Top 5.
I like to do this at the end of the podcast. And the last.
You got no drum roll? You don't got a drum roll? You got a drum roll.
Yeah, I get the dog working on it, man. He's we'll edit that in. No, I've got 5 questions, but I guess these are applicable to kind of the comedy scene as well. So the first one would be, tell us an artist that we should be listening to.
Who am I listening to lately? Manu Chao. Do you know who Manu Chao is?
I don't know.
I think he's French, but he's like kind of alternative, kind of soul, techno. Like he's very famous. I mean, he's huge in the Spanish community, the Latin community. I only came on to him. Actually, a Scottish buddy of mine, Ross. You remember Ross Gardner?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ross told me about him years ago. So I listen to him a lot now. It's just real kind of chill music like that. And also, I should give a shout out to my buddy Damien Alexander. Dame Alexander's his name. It's amazing to see him. Me and him went to college together, and he started up doing music back then, and he was terrible. And well, I've seen him as I was when I first started comedy, right? But I've seen him now grow over the past literally 20 years. It was 2000. And he's turned himself into a real quality musician. I mean, great R&B, neo soul, kind of like Prince, Lenny Kravitz type. Like he's very, very talented, and does guitar, does DJ, and it's amazing to see him build himself into that. So Dame Alexander.
All right,
and
cool. We'll have a look at that, and we'll add some of the links to some of his stuff. Yeah.
And his was an expat kind of thing. So if you want to give an expat some love, he was an expat in Canada. He was from America, and. Yeah, so that'd be my guy, Dame Alexander.
You converted him then, yeah?
Yeah, I did actually. We came to Canada. He came to Canada to play basketball in college. We played basketball in college together.
Fantastic. What about a guilty pleasure, Brian? A band or artist that you shouldn't like but you do?
Bon Jovi, man.
It's not bad, actually. Yeah, they did get a couple.
Well, it's not bad, but not a lot of people. Listen, I'm not the only one. They sold 110 million records, so somebody else likes.
Yeah, it's a fact.
I grew up on that, right? I grew up on that. That was before the internet. So back in the day, right, you had your radio and you had your 2 stations. You had your top 40 countdown, and that was it. And when 1987, Slippery When Wet album came out, I'm a 12-year-old boy, with all kinds of feelings. So I graduated to it till Guns N' Roses came along in '89.
Oh, it's not a bad way in, I suppose, man.
No, Bon Jovi's all right.
Yeah, I think they got a new album coming out soon. I heard, or they get a new song out anyway. But yeah, he's done all right for himself, I think, John Bon Jovi. Right?
Oh my God, they're crushing it. They haven't had a good song since It's My Life, so I'll check the new stuff out. But it's been pretty shit lately. Yeah.
I think the old stuff's always in the can, right? You can always go back to it.
Exactly.
Question 3 then. How about the best venue you've played at? Of course, it could be home or abroad, wherever home is.
Well, I mean, playing in when I filmed my special Big in Asia, Mongolia, that was pretty amazing to be in Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia, and they have this world-class comedy club. That was pretty mind-blowing. But the fact that I've been able to play, like, theaters and like even arenas now. I've played a few arenas where it's insane to me that I've played an arena. I mean, I played in the arena in my hometown during a hometown festival, and it was the one and only time my father saw me. He's passed on now. He was dying of cancer at the time. It's actually a funny story, bad lead in, but he was dying of cancer at the time, so his breathing wasn't great. So I was the headliner that night. So they said, call me. My mother said, call me when you're about to go on stage. I'll bring Dad up because he only lives down the road, you know. So sure enough, I call him, and they're wheeling him in. He's in a wheelchair, and Mom's kind of wheeling him past the front of the stage. And as I'm coming on, so they're introducing me, and I look down there, I see my dad being wheeled. Right? So I say as a joke, just like, hey, everybody, give it up for my dad. Like, but my dad's not like me. He doesn't like attention. So they shone the big arena spotlight on him.
Oh, God.
He's kind of just waving in the wheelchair, all uncomfortable. That was hilarious to me. But I think the theaters I play, you know, like I've been lucky enough now to play these big venues and theaters across Canada now that I used to look, just dream about. I mean, when I was younger, or just think like, wow, imagine playing there. And now I'm playing some of these places, you know, 500, 600, 700,000 seaters. And so there's no one particular venue. Just the fact that I'm playing venues like this now is mind blowing.
And maybe in some respects, it's about the crowd as well as the venue. Eh? It's about what reaction you get or what reception you get, or
yeah, definitely,
just the vibe of the room.
Yeah, there's certain towns, man, that you go to and you get surprised. You know, you go to a town for the first time and all of a sudden like 300 people show up and you're like, what? It's amazing. Like, and that to me is more fun than playing the cities, because first of all, those people really appreciate it, and it's just the vibe is just, there's something special there.
But they're there for a good time as well, right? They're there
for a great time. Yeah,
he's on the bill, and yeah, go on, let's have a good time.
Yeah, but like last year, my hometown is part of the Best Kind Comedy Tour. Like we played a 1,400 seat, the Civic Center. I mean, that's down where they play sport venues and stuff. I mean, it was that was pretty amazing. The fact that, you know, we're out, you know, on the billboard outside for like a month, and it's just, you know, that's for rock bands, right? So I'm still a pretty big geek for that shit. I love that.
Yeah, man, you can't really argue with that. That's some good stuff.
Yeah.
How about the next question would be, who would you most like to collaborate with and why?
Well, the thing about comedy, it's not, it's a very lone wolf sport. You know, we don't really collaborate. I mean,
you're the golf of the entertainment world.
Yeah, I am looking for I am looking to do a one-person show, and it's going to be real personal, and it's going to be, you know, it's going to be, pretty intense, and it's a little theatrical. So that's not my comfort zone. So I'm going to look to collaborate with like a theater legend. I don't really have anybody involved, but I'm looking to kind of find a big name to really guide me through that. So that'll be the collaboration that I'm most excited about for sure.
Keep us posted.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. That'll be coming out in the next 2 years, but I'm working on it now. Now I need my theater geek.
I guess there's a kind of sub question to this. And when you were, you know, as a younger guy, before you started doing comedy, who did you look up to, or who did you aspire to be, or who made you laugh, comedy-wise, comedians?
Yeah, Dave, I mean, in my hometown, we have a sketch group called Codco. A lot of people don't know who they are, but they're like, it's like SCTV, Saturday Night Live type. I mean, they're in that league. They're super talented. Everybody where I grew up knew them. We would always try to mimic their skits and stuff. Also, Eddie Murphy, of course. Back then it was Eddie Murphy, Dennis Leary. I mean, I lived on an island in Newfoundland, and we didn't have, that was the only comedy that kind of got to us. It was like Richard Pryor, Dennis Leary, Billy Connolly, Bill Hicks. Those guys. I definitely had a Hicks phase and a Carlin phase.
I think we all did, yeah.
And I still look to Richard Pryor whenever I'm struggling with a bit or struggling with being honest on stage or revealing when I'm getting nervous. I'll go to Richard Pryor and just get my mind blown, just because he's the truth, right? Like, it's just no truth has ever been spoken like that. He's still ahead of the time, man. It don't even make sense. He's
an incredible performer.
Oh my God, insane.
Just in
those guys. I mean, it's always the same kind of guys. But yeah, Carlin, Hicks, Pryor, Billy Connolly, Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, good stuff. Is there anyone that you'd recommend, someone new that you would recommend for the listeners to check out?
Someone new?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Brian Regan is absolutely hilarious. American comic. Like, I mean, he'll just make you piss yourself. You know who Stuart Lee is? North England comic, Northern England.
Stuart
Lee, Dylan Moran.
Yeah, he's quite well known. He's done a lot of TV sitcoms and stuff as well.
He's well known in Europe, but he's not really well known outside of Europe. Like, nobody in Canada or the States really knows him that well. But I mean, he's hilarious. I love Stuart Lee. Yeah, but if you want just for laughter, man, like Brian Regan is absolutely hilarious.
We shall check him out. That sounds like a plan. And the last one for us, Brian, today. What's your go-to karaoke tune? A man must have a full repertoire, I think.
Well, I mean, you got to go with Groove is in the Heart, little Delight. Already started. That gets him dancing, Craig. That gets him dancing.
Oh, man. You know Mike Dowding, the bass player, right?
Yeah.
See, he would always just start that bass line if we were sitting jamming somewhere, you know. Yeah. He would pull that one out, you know. Yeah, he loved that tune.
That's a happy song.
Yes.
Of course, you have your all your basic white boy songs, Piano Man, Billy Joel, and One, U2, all the garbage ones that we can all do. Zombie, Cranberries.
Oh yeah.
What's yours? What's your go-to?
For me, man, I'm a bit more of a traditionalist. You know, I like a nice Beatles number, maybe like Dear Prudence or something like that.
Yeah.
Something a bit dark.
Dude.
Yeah.
That's
it's too happy, you know.
I know it is.
I like something like kind of dark and somber to really spoil the mood, you know.
Of course you do. You Scottish.
It gives us that chance to, you know, get your own back. Especially, you know, in South Korea, you go into the Noribang stroke karaoke room, and there'd always be a tambourine there.
Yeah.
And of course, the person who picks the tambourine up is the one who claps on the 1 and the 3, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my payback for those guys.
Yeah. That's the go-to.
Brian, just before we finish up then, where can we find you? What's your social media?
Well, on my Facebook comedy page, my website, and Instagram, it's all Brian Aylward Comedy. So at Brian Aylward Comedy. I haven't been on Instagram in a while, but I'm getting back up on that. But all these things I'm talking about, like, you know, my special Big in Asia, my website, or my web series, Buddy in Bangkok, my podcast, that'll all be coming out on those platforms. So Brian Aylward Comedy.
We can expect. That's my website as well. Good, man. We can expect some mass saturation then, eh?
Yeah, man. I mean, I've been really kind of building up for this, you know, and I'm finally ready to kind of follow through and release these things. And yeah, man. So here I go. I'm going to give it a go and see where I end up. So Brian Aylward Comedy. And my last name, no one knows how to spell it, is Aylward. Brian Aylward Comedy.
I wasn't going to go there, right? But having a surname like Branch, you know, I have a surname.
Oh, this is my wife, Holly. My wife was just in the background pointing at me going, tell him to spell it. Because nobody knows how to spell my last name. But yeah, man, all under my name and comedy, Brian Aylward Comedy.
When I put this all together, when I edit a top and a tail of it, I'll get all that in.
Yeah, no worries, brother.
Brian, it's been a pleasure catching up with you. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. You watching the boxing tonight?
Absolutely, man. Can't wait. It's going to be exciting. Anything can happen.
I'll be on at 4 in the morning for you, or
7 o'clock.
Breakfast time. Okay, even better.
Yeah, we're all meeting at a British pub, having a nice breakfast and cheering on the Gypsy King, baby. Yeah, it should be a good fight. I mean, the last fight was that was when Fury got hit. Maybe it was the 10th round or whatever. He got hit, and then you think, okay, that's it, over, and then 12th round. It was the last round. It was crazy.
Was it the last round, right? And then you get up again, and you're just thinking, man, that's a chin, yeah.
Dude, he didn't just get up. He got up and came back and dominated. Like, he won the last fight, but when you get knocked down a couple of times, that doesn't look good for the judges.
No.
It's going to be an exciting fight, man. Fury looks amazing. Best shape he's ever been in. They had weigh-ins today. They both look good. Deontay's big and bulky, and I think it's the classic boxer versus the puncher. I mean, Fury boxed him all over the ring last time. Yeah, exactly. Now he's in better shape.
He's a clever boxer as well, Fury.
Yeah, man. He can. I mean, he comes back. His old man was a bare knuckle guy from Ireland. You know, I mean, you know, it's in his blood.
I think they're from a traveling family background.
Yeah, they're from Irish travelers. Yeah, proper gypsies. Like, they're proper bandwagons and all that shit, caravans.
Yeah, he's done well for himself. So, and I think he had all that stuff going on in the past, like many of us do. You have your ups and downs, but he's really managed to turn himself around. And
well, that's what's crazy. I mean, before the last fight, he won, and then he won before that fight, but he gained 130 pounds.
You see, I mean, he just looked like a mess.
He
Right?
was just boozing and coked out of his mind, gone crazy, lost all of it, came back and won. But he was obviously must have been a little weak. So now think about it. He's been strong now, solid for a year. So he's going to be tough to beat, man. But, you know, Wilder's one of the heaviest punchers ever. So it's going to be exciting, man.
Yeah.
It's the first time in a long time the heavyweight division got a bit of buzz again. So it's nice.
Exactly, right. And there's not been much histrionics the past week or so, like the weigh-in and all that. There's a wee bit showbiz, but it's not been the usual twat fest, you know, guys.
Yeah, man, I'm sick of watching these skinny fucks fight. Let's get the big boys going.
Right on. On that note, Brian, I'm going to leave you to it, man.
All right, brother. Great to hear from you.
Right on. Cheers, Brian.
All right, man. Take care.
Well, we made it to the end of another episode of Can't Find My Way Home. Can't believe it, that's 4 we've done already. Was it 5? I've lost count. Big thanks to Brian Aylward for joining me. We had a great chat. Brian is maybe one of the hardest working guys that I think I've ever met. You know, the sheer work ethic that he's got and the love for his craft is really something to be admired. Please check out his work. You can find him at Brian Aylward Comedy. And of course I'll link all this in our social media as well. Speaking of which, where can you find Can't Find My Way Home? So, Facebook, you can find us at Expat Music Pod, that's all one word. Also under Can't Find My Way Home. You can also catch us on Instagram at can't.findmywayhome. Those dots make every bit of difference, don't they? Finally, Anchor FM. There's also links to our YouTube page, to Spotify. Hopefully we'll be on Apple Podcasts as well. We're just waiting on that being clarified. Anchor.fm at Can't Find My Way Home, all one word. Thanks for listening. This is a work in progress, so please excuse us all these little ups and downs. We're having these technical mishaps, and it's all part of the learning process. If you want to leave a comment, if you'd like to be a guest on the show, please get in contact with me, leave a comment, whatever it is. I'm glad to hear from you. Until the next episode, this is Craig saying, take it easy. Cheers.